are starting to see what is actually going to happen with all of that's going on currently, folks. It looks like we'll probably be getting back to work, but some places won't. Now, the reason why this might be important, I don't know. It might have a little bit to do with this right here, folks. The fact that if we don't reopen, we're talking about something so big, it's going to make the last one look like nothing. 1918, when we had the last economic thing, we're talking about something that makes that one look small. That's what we're talking about here, okay? But we already have some good news. I'm going to go over some of that right in a minute here, but I mean, it's so obvious if you look at the numbers and look at the graphs. This time around, it'd be way bigger than last time, okay? We're already past the numbers from last time. We already have more people without jobs already. And what is this, like a month into this? You see what I mean? So there is that. All right. We're talking about the fact that our president is finally coming out and saying, look, we're going to reopen everything, folks. We're trying to roll it out now and get everybody back to work. There's a number of states that are already doing this. They're already not just talking about it, but actually tomorrow, one state is reopening. Okay? Their beaches, actually, which is kind of funny because you'll see what I'm getting at. We'll get into that in a little bit here, but obviously it is time to reopen our businesses and get things back going like they should be. All right. Now we already have people also talking and going to the Capitol and saying, look, we want to get back to work. And I have this article here if I can get it to open. All right, here we go. Actually, it's better off the search. It literally says nothing. Okay, so we're talking about various places in the US of A. A lot of people are out trying to make it clear that we need to get back to work. You can see some people here. All right. Like I said, just doing a search, you can actually see more than on the article itself. All right. So this is actually the place that's reopening already. You're going to be kind of surprised which state it is, which city. We're talking about Florida, man. They're already opening up their beaches tomorrow. Okay? Which is kind of amazing. But I mean, at the same time, if you think about it, as long as there isn't 50,000 of them on the beach, it's going to be fine. I mean, that was the main thing before, was there's literally a bazillion people there all at the same time. I mean, if you have only a few people here and there, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? That's kind of the thing about that one, right? So now, of course, remember about all these cruise ships, right? Well, apparently now it's coming out that they knew about it. Okay, they actually knew about it, and the executives did, but they didn't want to stop it. They just wanted to keep going. And what we've seen, if you look at all this stuff, is it's pretty obvious that if you have a ship where everybody's very close, or if you have some sort of, a city that has a lot of people very close together and coming in and out of the city, traveling all over the place, that's usually when you have a lot of this happening, where you see a lot of people get it. Other than that, that's pretty much the main thing. If they would just simply deal with that only, just let everybody go back to work and only deal with these certain select areas where you have a ton of people on one spot. Kind of like this picture here, as you can see. I mean, that's basically where it happens, folks. I mean, that's basically it. That's pretty much it. Other than that, I mean, that's all, right? But instead, what we have is this here. Check this out. I saw this video earlier today from Apologia here. As you can see, basically this guy is, what is he? Let me show you this. Here we go. Check this out. So this guy named Don was actually outside of this uh, facility here, as you can see here. Yeah, in Norfolk. And as you can see here, what ends up happening is the men in blue pull up on him and they're saying, "Look, what are you doing?" And it's kind of funny actually because he actually reads the order that was given out saying, "Look, you can do outdoor activity." It says you can do different kinds of outdoor activity. This is an outdoor activity. Me being at this facility and holding signs and saying I don't like what's happening. That's an actual outdoor activity. So that then they actually call um, their superior over, and apparently he's in agreement with them and lets them continue. So that's some good news, I guess, right? Check this one out. Albania. We're talking about them actually giving people 2 to 8 years for simply going outside or doing something that they're saying that they shouldn't be doing at this point. That is just utterly, I can't believe that, you know what I mean? So, I how is that solving anything? And honestly, what's funny is, of course, they're also letting people out of those facilities. So why are they doing that? You know what I mean? I guess maybe, I don't know, things that are up or down now and things that are down or up. Things don't exactly make sense. Now check this one out. All right, look at this one. You know how they say that they're checking to make sure you have good information? You know what I mean? Check this one out. This is hilarious. We have a person that worked for Facebook who was checking, hey, is this correct information or not? Right? Well, look at this one. She happened to work at the place, at this lab. She worked there. Of course she's going to say it didn't come from there. She worked there. You see what I mean? That's absolutely hilarious. Yeah, and she's putting out articles too, by the way. Yeah. Good job there. That's such a, that just shows you how it is. You know what I mean? It literally has nothing to do with what is actually correct or not at this point. Now, this video is ridiculous. Okay? I got to show you this. I got to first open this up. Oh my goodness. I saw this and I was like, what? Where is it at? It was about here. Okay, I got to show you this. Okay. Let's see if I can get this to play right. Okay. I think it should play audio for you. Okay? It should play audio. All right, check this out. We have Bill here, and whenever he says, and they found these clips, at different sections of him speaking. Whenever he starts talking about people being no longer, like there's 7 billion people and so many of them are going to be gone, he starts smiling and no, you can literally see it. He's like holding back his happiness and laughter every time he says it. It is ridiculous. At first I was like, oh, come on, give me a break. It can't be correct. But then actually I saw the clips and I'm like, what? I mean, look at this. Check this out. Here's an example right here. I think this is one of the spots. I think this is it.
Side effects, that's, way more, 700,000, people who will suffer from that.
Did you see that? Did you see his face? It's like, I got to stop my happiness. I mean, really, it's like the guy likes the idea of people being gone. And interestingly, his father was a person who was into that too. Okay? I don't know if you know what his father was into, but he was actually head of something that had to do with that. I don't have it in front of me. You probably already know if some of you have been following this stuff. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Where did he work? Okay, look at this, dude. Where did he work? I don't know. You see where he worked? I think you get kind of the idea there. Yeah. So yeah, he's a real peach there, folks. Good guy. Actually, there's a bunch of clips they actually show together, showing him like smiling every time he talks about people being no longer. Every single time he starts to say it, he starts giggling and getting happy. Dude, what in the world? Okay, I just had to show you that. Now check this one out. We have another article where they're saying that this person has certain types of signs that they have the strain, but and something that was a little different, right? And I thought it was interesting because they're basically taking anything and everything and sort of like attributing it. You know what I mean? I got kind of this idea that like, ooh, look at this. Oh, look at that. Ooh, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that. And check this out. Okay, look at this. So they're talking about the fact that she has, her mind is a little bit fuzzy. Okay, as being literally like you have a sign of it. After she's already gotten past it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she talks about the fact in her post that she's been stuck. She's been in her house for 4 weeks and she can't even go out to her garden because she's in Europe where they tell you can't even go to your garden. And she loves her garden, of course. She's literally, of course you're not your brain's going to be fuzzy. This is like literally what happens when you're in something like this, according to a lot of people. Matter of fact, Dr. Phil has even mentioned stuff like that. So it's not from this, it's from, you know what I mean? Give me a break. And this is what I'm talking about. I mean, they're attributing everything to it now. Then we have this here, folks. Stocks soar because we're talking about the fact the president is saying we're going to open up the economy and get back to work. Well, that might do it. I don't know. So we're seeing actually huge amounts upwards in some respects on different parts. And so, I mean, that's good news, obviously. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is, that's what needs to be done. And it's so obvious at this point. And I was saying this a long time ago. I already knew it wouldn't go that long. I knew they couldn't go that long because of the fact that you need the economy going. You have Tesla here. Apparently having good days lately for their business. Their stock price is going up and up and up, probably because of the fact that they sell their cars online in a convenient fashion, kind of like some of the other companies that are sort of pioneering that area, and also because they're pretty popular as well of recent. So that's just kind of amazing. I guess they're looked at as the future of the auto industry, which, of course, a couple years back, nobody would have thought. Nobody would have thought that. But now apparently they're in the forefront. And they're actually worth more than Ford and GM combined, from what I understand as well, which is just kind of amazing to think about because he kind of came out of nowhere and he's got 4 companies he runs.
Welcome back. The White
But
House
he seems to be doing a good job with it, Elon Musk is. All right, now we're talking about movie theaters. AMC says it actually could go until July without actually opening up again. I think, honestly, all they would have to do is the same thing that they're talking about. I've seen other business people talk about with restaurants is you simply move the tables farther apart. Super easy. Same thing with the movie theater. Just don't let as many people watch it. Have them separated a couple seats. So obvious, so easy, so simple. What is so hard about this, people? You know what I mean? What? Oh, no, instead we should just stop doing business altogether. That makes total sense. Okay. Yeah, it's very simple to do. All you do is just use this thing here and figure it out, right? Now, actually, this is a good idea. At first, I was like kind of hesitant to think this is a good idea, but actually, this is a good idea for business. Ford is doing this. I thought, okay, I was thinking to myself, what is a good, application of technology? Of course, a lot of people that watch my channel are like, always thinking about where is technology not going the right direction, right? Well, I was thinking about these wristbands. Now, of course, they've talked about these wristbands in obviously a not good fashion up till now, but I thought this was interesting. They're talking about a very simple concept here where you essentially, all it does, it doesn't show where you're at or anything. It's not required. It's something you can take off, okay? You can simply, every time you go to work, you put this on. It just tells you if you're 6 foot away from somebody. That's all it does. Very simple. It just buzzes or something if you're too near somebody. And that makes sense on the workplace. You know what I mean? Like if you put I mean, in thinking about this, you have to somehow convince these people to let you back at work. Right? Sort of the idea is just to get them to meet you halfway, just so that you can, get people that you are not in agreement with on board with the idea of you going back to work. So, of course, I could just sit here and say, no, we're just not going to do anything. We'll just let us go back to work. They're not going to agree with you. And you need to get them in pragmatic, you know what I mean? So I'm just talking in a pragmatic fashion. Simplest way to get people back to work is to somehow get them on board with something simple. It could be that. It could be just saying you agree to being so many feet from people. Whatever to get them. You're going to move your tables farther apart in your restaurant. Whatever it might be, just to get them to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Let's just do that. You know what I mean? At any rate, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.
Today I'm going to show you how to make a superfood that'll last a lifetime without refrigeration. And it's so nutritious, you'll never have to stockpile another food. The food's called pemmican, and it was widely in use by the natives of North America and also by the Western explorers who would go for months without contact with civilization. In the 19th century, even British soldiers had an iron ration of 4 ounces of pemmican. Many of these iron rations were found intact and edible as much as 50 years later. So let's just avert our gaze from modern survival thinking for a minute, and let's think about how the guys who explored the West 150 years ago did it. Now that's exactly the kind of stuff I found in this 350-page book called The Lost Ways. It's probably the only survival book I've actually enjoyed reading, and you won't believe the survival things we've lost to history. Now I found the pemmican recipe on page 48, and I decided to give it a go. Natives used whatever was available to them at the time. Bison, elk, moose, deer. But nowadays people just use what they can buy. You just need to remember to select a low-fat red meat. And beef is perfect for this. So you'll need 6 pounds of beef, 2 pounds of rendered beef tallow, and 1/3 cup of strawberries or blueberries. And that's it. Don't include nuts, seeds, vegetable oils, grains, beans, or dairy products of any kind. Now the first step is to dry the meat and blueberries. First you need to slice the meat very thin. You can use a very sharp knife like this one, or you can keep the beef in the freezer a few hours before slicing it. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can set the oven to the lowest possible temperature, around 130 degrees, and put the strips of meat directly on the rack. So now place a tin foil on the right side of the rack and spread the blueberries out to dry with the meat. Place the rack back inside and crack the oven door to prevent moisture buildup. Let this dry for about 15 hours or until it's crispy. 150 years ago, people dried their meat by building a wooden pyramid over a small fire and hanging the meat slices on that. After 15 hours, this is what you should get. Toss it in the food processor until it becomes a powder. Do the same with the blueberries. In the old days, they'd grind it with a rock to crush it into a powder. Generally, well-dried meat will weigh just slightly less than 1/3 of its raw weight. Therefore, 6 pounds of raw lean meat will yield about 2 pounds of thoroughly dehydrated meat. For our next step, we need to cut the fat into small pieces about a 1/2 inch square. So place the fat in a pot on the stove and heat it up to a temperature between 225 and 250 degrees. And you don't gain anything from getting it any hotter than that other than destroying the fatty acids, which we want to do as little as possible. Now for the first 10 minutes you want to keep this on medium-high heat, and you want to stir it about every minute. And this will allow enough of the fat to be liberated to coat the bottom of the pot without burning the bottom of the fat. After about 10 minutes, you'll see a pool of fat forming on the bottom of the pot, which should be merrily boiling away. You can rest a little bit now and stir it maybe only every 5 minutes, just to keep things well mixed. After about 30 minutes, the liquid fat should have risen enough to cover the chunks, and it should look like a rolling boil. So as this liquid rises, you can go ahead and lower the temperature down to about 230. After about an hour, the major boiling action will have stopped, and there'll just be small bubbles rising from the fat. About 90% of the cracklings will be a chestnut brown in color. So use a strainer to separate these and set them aside with salt to enjoy as snacks later. They're really, really good. And if you don't like them or don't want to eat them, you can set them aside to cool for dog treats. So good. Oh, yes. Sammy, you want one? Come here. We now have to weigh the amount of ground meat and the amount of rendered animal fat. We have to have the same quantities, so you'll probably have to remove some of the excess fat. Place the remaining fat on the stove. Keep it about 120 degrees. Mix the shredded meat into the melted fat and stir it until it's well blended. Then add the blueberries and mix it again. This is how it should look. The fat should be absorbed or coating the meat fibers. There should be very little or no liquid fat pooling in the bottom of the pot. Now, following the instructions from the Lost Ways, you can store it in Ziploc plastic bags and press flat, removing as much air as possible, and therefore preventing the fat from going rancid. This should keep the pemmican from spoiling for a few years without refrigeration. So let's do that. And here's what I got. Pemmican is the ultimate survival food, no matter if you want to bug out or bug in. 10 pounds of pemmican would supply food for 2 full weeks of camping activities at 3/4 pound per day, providing 2,200 calories. In survival mode, the same 10 pounds of pemmican would supply energy for almost a full month. This was just one awesome chapter in the Lost Ways, but you won't believe the survival skills we've lost to history. And that's what this book is all about, saving our forefathers' skills. But I actually realized it's also about saving ourselves from the shallow world that we live in. Click below to find out how you can get your hands on one of the greatest books of this century.